Welcome back to Reds Fusion LFC, your home for all the breaking Liverpool updates. Today we've got it all. Injury fears for Giovanni Leoni, mixed messages on our striker's fitness, Chiesa opening up on the Champions League snub, national media outrage at a shocking decision, and a fresh transfer twist with Michael Olise as Bayern step in. Stick around because you don't want to miss this. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to stay updated with every twist and turn in the transfer window. Liverpool fearing serious Giovanni Leoni injury as Arne Slot to give update. Giovanni Leoni was stretchered off in the Carabao Cup win over Southampton after producing an excellent performance on his Liverpool debut. Giovanni Leoni is set for an extended spell on the sidelines after suffering a serious knee injury on his Liverpool debut on Tuesday night against Southampton. The 18-year-old defender was making his first start since joining from Parma in a 26 million deal in mid-August. He had looked impressive on the night before he was forced off after 81 minutes. Leoni landed awkwardly near the main stand and was in visible agony before he was taken off on a stretcher and replaced by Milos Kerkez for the closing stages. Liverpool are refusing to place a timescale on the length of the absence at present, with head coach Arne Slot due to update with the latest in his Friday morning press conference from the AXA training center. However, it's understood club medical staff are fearful of a serious issue for the young Italian, who was making just his 18th senior appearance of his career on Tuesday evening. The length of absence is expected to be a number of months rather than weeks, and it's a devastating blow for a teenager who had played himself onto the cusp of the international. Seen following an Azzurri call-up earlier this month, it means the Reds are down to 3 senior center-backs at present, with the long-serving Joe Gomez providing cover for Ibrahima Konate and Virgil van Dijk, starting with Saturday's trip to Crystal Palace. Wataru Endo has also previously played center-back, while midfielder Ryan Gravenberch has also operated there on a couple of occasions last season as an emergency option. Liverpool tried to strengthen their center-back ranks on transfer deadline by having a deal in place to sign England international Mark Guehi for 35 million from Saturday's hosts Palace. However, the Eagles pulled the plug on the deal on September 1 after their efforts to replace the club captain fell through when Igor Shulio opted to move to West Ham United from Brighton at the 11th hour. Speaking in his post-match press conference on Tuesday evening, Reds boss Slot said of Leoni, "He's down because for him it didn't feel good immediately, but this is something now we have to assess, and normally these things don't happen in 5 to 10 minutes. You have to wait until tomorrow to see how he comes in and then maybe do an MRI scan to know more. Normally the emotions of a player tell you a lot. I saw a player in the Dutch Eredivisie at the weekend who went out completely in tears, and it proved to be that he was right, that he had suffered a bad injury, but let's hope for the best." Alexander Isak and Arne Slot send mixed messages on Liverpool. Striker's fitness levels. Alexander Isak scored his first goal for Liverpool in Tuesday night's Carabao Cup win, but was pulled off at halftime as the club continues to slowly build him up to full match fitness. Alexander Isak and Arne Slot have given contrasting views on the Liverpool striker's fitness levels. The forward's readiness to participate in games has been a pressing issue in the last few weeks, following his record-breaking arrival on transfer deadline day. Given Isak was forced to train away from his teammates over the summer at Newcastle United and didn't have a proper preseason, getting the Sweden star up to full speed has been among Slot's chief priorities this month. Isak started his second game for the club on Tuesday in the Carabao Cup win over Southampton and netted his maiden Liverpool goal just before halftime. However, he was replaced during the interval and, oddly, was made to do some sprint work on the pitch at halftime. With Hugo Ekitike suspended at the weekend, Isak will likely start against Crystal Palace. In his first public interview since the transfer to Liverpool, the 25-year-old was asked how fit he currently feels. "It was good to get some more minutes on the way to getting fit," Isak told Sky Sports. "I feel good, I feel fit, of course. Obviously, it's still early. A new club and new teammates, but I feel good. I think it's a great team to be a part of, and with all of the games I get, it's only going to get better." However, Slot seemed to slightly disagree with that assessment and said Isak will not be firing on all cylinders until after the October international break. He's playing more and more. the Liverpool head coach told Sky Sports. But it is only 6 or 7 days ago that he played his first minutes. You're trying to build him up quicker than you normally do in preseason, but that is why he tried to get him as much playing minutes as we can. He is available for next week. He will make minutes there, and then we'll go to the national team of Sweden where he can make minutes. I think, yes, he is ready for minutes and does well. But to have the best version of him, I think that is maybe after the international break when he has played more minutes and has some more minutes under his belt. Then we will see the best of him. Speaking separately in his post-match press conference, Slot added, "We got him not in the best circumstances in terms of match fitness, so we have to build it up. The downside to that is that you cannot play a player 90 minutes, and if you only play him 45 or 30, or again, like today, 45, it might then normally take a while before he scores his first goal, because we can all understand if you play a player 3 times 90, it's a bigger chance that he scores a goal than when you play him 45, 30, 45. Federico Chiesa shares true feelings on Liverpool Champions League snub and terrace anthem interview. With Federico Chiesa, who was speaking after he starred in Liverpool's 2-1 win over Southampton in the Carabao Cup on Tuesday, if the broad smiles of Federico Chiesa have been a feature. Since his move to Liverpool last year, there was even more reason for his wide-eyed delight on Tuesday evening. Liverpool's stardom hasn't looked exactly like it did in the brochure since he joined from Juventus in late August last year in a deal worth up to 12, and his first season was beset by fitness problems, and a difficulty adjusting to the unique intensity of Premier League football meant the Italian made just one start as a result. At Brighton in early May, after the title had already been secured. 6 Premier League appearances in total have almost been equaled already this season, with the former Fiorentina man making 4 from the bench, including a dramatic 88th-minute intervention against Bournemouth on the opening night back in mid-August, when he expertly volleyed home to make it 3-2. But if Chiesa is to have any longevity at Anfield, the Carabao Cup will likely be his salvation, excluded from the initial 23-man Champions League squad on a technicality, over a lack of homegrown players, meaning Arne Slot had to choose teenager Rio Ngamoha over his more experienced colleague. The 27-year-old is also having to catch the eye of his coach with Mohamed Salah ahead of him in the pecking order, and with the FA Cup not on the calendar until January, the forward is left with little choice but to grasp the opportunities afforded to him in the League Cup with both hands, so a pair of assists for Alexander Isak and Hugo Ekitike in Tuesday night's 2-1 win over Southampton felt like an ideal response to the gauntlet being thrown down. I can play more in this competition, but I want to show the manager I can play more in the Premier League, Chiesa says. The coach gave me chances in the first 4 games, and I think I showed that I can help the team. I'm not in the Champions League squad, but I am focused on the Carabao Cup. A reprieve for the European Cup may yet arrive at his door following an injury to his young compatriot Giovanni Leoni, who was stretchered off late on after an excellent debut at the back. For now, though, Chiesa is targeting making his mark when the chances present themselves domestically. I do feel much better in terms of physical ability, and I think I have played more this year than last year combined, he says. I'm happy and I have to continue on this path. It was really difficult being on the fringes, but I don't think I was at the level the coach wanted me to play. But I understood his choices. This year it is different. I feel better physically and mentally. The coach has seen this and given me more opportunities. I'm glad that I have made some contributions in the Premier League. That is what Liverpool want from every player who plays for them. It is what the coach wants. All the other players want it. National media react to preposterous Liverpool decision that left Arne Slot dumbfounded. Roundup of the national media's coverage of Liverpool's 2-1 win over Southampton in the Carabao Cup. It was a tale of 3 strikers for Liverpool in the Carabao Cup as they beat Southampton 2-1 on Tuesday night via goals from Alexander Isak and Hugo Ekitike, both of which were put on a plate by Federico Chiesa. It was another night of late drama for the Reds at Anfield, this time forcing a winner in the closing stages via Ekitike, whose tap-in came about after a sumptuous control from Chiesa to give his teammate the chance to settle the game. Ekitike was promptly sent off for removing a shirt in celebration while already on a booking. Having replaced Isak, who opened his account in the 43rd minute, for the second half. The Echo, as ever, was on hand to oversee the game. You can find our full complement of match coverage here. Verdict. Player ratings. Analysis. Live blog. Arne Slot reaction. Will still on Ekitike. Our colleagues from the national media were also on hand to run the rule over proceedings and give their considered takes. Here's what they made of it after a 6th successive Liverpool win. The Times' Paul Joyce writes, "It was always going to require something remarkable to wrestle the spotlight away from Alexander Isak's first Liverpool goal. Hugo Ekitike duly obliged, though not in the manner he would have hoped. The French striker had replaced Isak at the interval and maintained Liverpool's slew of late winners this season to see off a plucky Southampton side. Yet having already been booked for punching the ball away, the forward's decision to whip off his shirt in celebration in the 86th minute meant the referee, Thomas Bramall, brought his night to a premature and farcical close with a red card. To say Arne Slot looked less than impressed would be an understatement. The forward will miss their next game against Crystal Palace on Saturday. Progress to the Carabao Cup 4th round was still achieved, but, until then, the focus was drawn to Isak, and no one can dispute he is not prepared to put in the hard yards in order to be a success." Rich Jolly, of the Independent, pens, "And to think some worried Hugo Ekitike would be overshadowed by Alexander Isak at Anfield." On the night the 125-meter man opened his account for his new club, Ekitike contrived to upstage his striking rival, extending Liverpool's extraordinary record of late deciders and yet drawing cutting criticism from his manager. Liverpool faces Michael Olise's transfer setback as Bayern. Munich makes decisive move. Michael Olise has been linked with a move to Liverpool in the past, and the Reds are said to be considering a swoop for the Bayern Munich winger next. Summer Bayern Munich is reportedly mulling over handing star performer Michael Olise a new contract with improved terms before the campaign concludes amid reported transfer interest from Liverpool. The French winger remains contracted, with Bayern until 2029, yet German reports suggest discussions are underway regarding the player's long-term future in Munich. The Bundesliga sensation, who has already attracted interest from Liverpool, is yet to enter extension negotiations, though Munich's hierarchy are reportedly focused on safeguarding their asset for an extended period. According to Bild, Bayern secured Olise from Crystal Palace for approximately $70 million, $52 million, and he has kicked on impressively since then. Olise has previously been touted as a potential heir to Mohamed Salah at Anfield, with claims the Reds were contemplating a summer approach. The winger excelled during his maiden campaign at the Allianz Arena and claimed the Bundesliga's Rookie of the Year award following an impressive tally of 20 goals and 23 assists throughout a triumphant 2024-25 season. Sporting director Christoph Freund has expressed satisfaction with the player's development, stating, "Michael feels extremely comfortable in the group. It's just a good mix at the moment. We deliberately wanted to be a bit smaller. Of course, we've said several times that if Fonzie, Davies, Edimals, Jamal, Musiala, and Hiroki, Ito, come back, then he'll be bigger again in terms of depth. But the quality is very, very high, and we still have good competition." Meanwhile, Lothar Matthaus believes the star can scale even loftier peaks. "He has everything an outstanding footballer needs. I see no limits for him," he shared with Sport Bild. And the example of Ousmane Dembélé shows that a winger can become a world-class footballer. It always depends on the team's success, especially in the Champions League. But yes, I trust Olise to do it. Real Madrid has also been linked with a move for the French international, who has also been lauded by Bayern legend Karl-Heinz Rummenigge. The attackers are the salt in the soup, as we say, especially the wingers like Ribery, Robben, and now Olise, and the center forwards. Even Luca Toni. He wasn't really convinced about coming to Bayern.